Hello everyone, GarethTheGamer here today doing something very different. I'm going to take a look at Half-Life 2 Episode 3, alternatively known as Half-Life 3. Now I know what you might be thinking, that game doesn't exist! While true, at least at the time of making this video, there are insights that I want to provide about what this episode could have been like if it ever released, perhaps with some information you may not have heard before. So let's begin! I think the best place to start is around the time Half-Life 2 Episode 2 released, circa 2007 to 2008. According to Steam, Episode 2 is the second in a trilogy, hence why we knew Episode 3 existed at some point at this time. Episode 2 finishes with a pretty emotional ending while setting the scene for the start of Episode 3. The protagonists, Gordon Freeman and Alyx Vance, leave White Forest via helicopter in pursuit of the Aperture Science vessel, the Borealis, in hopes of understanding and potentially using it against the antagonists, the Combine. This was established at the tail end of Episode 2, prior and including the emotional ending I just mentioned. Considering the Cyrillic symbols seen in Half-Life 2 and its episodes, it's safe to say the Borealis is somewhere in the Arctic. It's reasonable to assume characters like Dr. Kleiner, Judith Mossman, the G-Man, Combine advisors and even Barney would make a return. At least, this is the logical assumption that could be made given available resources. Concept art from the time corroborates some of these assumptions. However, Valve was silent for quite some time about information relating to Episode 3. Keep in mind, Arcane Studios, known for games like Dishonored, were actively developing Episode 4, which was to put players into the shoes of Adrian Shepard from Half-Life Opposing Force, who was sent to Ravenholm for some reason. For the longest time, not much was known about Episode 4, save for a handful of screenshots of supposed locations from the episode, but now you can check out the no-clip documentary for a whole treasure trove of information and even gameplay from this lost episode. But that's not the purpose of this video, let's get back on track and fast forward a little. In 2011, Valve's president, Gabe Newell, confirmed in an interview with Develop that Valve had stopped working on episodic style content, effectively killing Episode 3, but was the project really dead? Evidence suggests that work was being done on Episode 3 for years after, as I will get to soon. Also in 2011 saw the release of the critically acclaimed sequel to Portal, Portal 2. Where more information about the Borealis was revealed to players that explored the vitrified areas of Aperture Science's past. In particular, it's the 1970s era of Aperture that holds this secret. The dry dock of the Borealis can be seen, with a Borealis tagged life jacket, but is otherwise quite barren. The intercom outside reveals an experiment involving teleportation, which reminds me of the Philadelphia experiment. An additional thing to note is how the door has been blown out, meaning something with tremendous force was present after this area had been condemned, which raises more questions than answers. Therefore, we can establish that the Borealis had some form of portal technology, plus something might have gone horribly wrong in an experiment involving it. So what other information is out there? We have to fast forward a little further into the future to 2017, where Half-Life series writer Mark Laidlaw releases a document called Epistle 3. Essentially, this implicitly described the plot of Episode 3, as I outlined earlier, however the ending of the episode was made clear. This was to use the Borealis to destroy the Combine's invasion nexus and have Alyx escape via G-Man and Gordon escape via Vortigons, or something to that effect. This isn't considered canon, rightfully so, which is why I'm glossing over it. Then in 2020 we saw the release of Half-Life Alyx, the virtual reality experience which takes place in between Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2. If you've seen the ending then you know. It absolutely sets the scene for a Half-Life continuation, 12.5 years after the release of Episode 2, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Now, let's move on to other details. For this section, I have to provide a shoutout and thanks to two individuals, Perilous with a $sign and Sadfi2259X. Why, you might ask? because Perilous provided a GitHub page with Counter-Strike Global Offensive source code which was uploaded in 2020, and Sadfi for pointing this out to me. So why am I pointing this out? You have 3 guesses. Let's take a look at Impulse 101 first, the cheat command that gives the player all of the weapons in the game. What we find is that the player doesn't have the bug bait in this episode, but has access to new weapons. Weapons in the source engine typically start with weapon underscore, so what I will list soon all have weapon underscore in front of them. So we have the ice gun, weaponizer, teleport, pipe bomb launcher, fletchet gun, flamethrower, E-gun and Gauss. People familiar with Half-Life 1 will know what the E-gun and Gauss weapons are, as they are the gluon gun and Tau cannon respectively. Apparently they were to make a return. The fletchet gun reminds me of the Swep from Gary's mod, and the pipe bomb launcher and flamethrower sound pretty self-explanatory. The ice gun sounds like something May from Overwatch would use, more on that soon, and the teleport sounds like the displacer cannon from Opposing Force. This leaves the weaponizer as the outlier, whose purpose I can't really comment on. My guess would be a disintegration gun of some kind. Speaking of the ice gun, there apparently was an issue with players being able to, quote, ice surf, plus there exists code that handles the freezing and thawing of enemies, and I won't go into detail about that here. In addition, there's code to handle a blob entity as indicated by these AI hints and this blobulator section, plus other things I will show on screen now, all of which show signs of active development of episode 3. While the content of this source code leak predates Half-Life Alyx, I don't think too many of these features made it into that game, so it's safe to say they were intended for something different. What do you make of this? So we're at the present day and there's still source news to go over. 2 stories are of interest: a massive leak of Valve content, especially Team Fortress 2 content, and details about a version of episode 3 from 2015 that was cancelled. The Team Fortress 2 or general Valve leak from January 2023 doesn't seem to contain any information relating to episode 3, so I will not go further into it. The gameplay details leak from February 2023 is of particular interest. Apparently, Gordon was supposed to experience a dreamlike sequence where he sees the Combine invasion of Earth only to awaken inside of the Aperture Science facility from the Portal games. There, he would solve tests involving the resizing of objects plus the ability to manipulate their temperature. Gordon was also alleged to have a robotic arm. This story was intended to take place after the events of Portal 2, 20 years into the future after episode 2 presumably. Due to the passage of time, most of the Half-Life 2 characters are dead. In addition, Gordon was supposed to find himself in a North American city where the game opens up with a darker tone, an emphasis on stealth and a more open-ended environment. Of course, this is all alleged details from a version of episode 3 from 2015 that only 10 people worked on. It's interesting to think about all the iterations this game has gone through over the years and where the project stands today, even amongst all the memes. Of course, I can't forget about the fan-made recreations of this episode, such as Borealis, which apparently has been permanently shelved, and Project Borealis, which hasn't seen any major updates since 2020. I'll leave you with this. Do you think episode 3 will ever release in some way, shape or form? And with that being said and done, I'll round off the video. Please provide your thoughts in the comments section down below, and why not like, subscribe, share and all that jazz too. Please consider buying me a coffee as it helps to make videos for this channel. Considering the amount of time I allocated myself to get this video done, it's safe to assume I have missed some important details or other leaks, so let me know if that is the case. Have a great day, and I'll see you again for something else that is source related. Maybe. Take care now.